Helios 44-2 is maybe the most famous vintage lens for digital photographers, because of its swirly bokeh, but also because it's a very budget-friendly lens. The Helios 44-2 is one of the most mass-produced Soviet SLR lenses, but did you know it had many variations? Let's go back to the beginning. The Helios 44, created in the 50s in Soviet Union, started out as a copy of the famous Carl Zeiss Biotar optical formula. As all lenses based on the Biotar formula, the Helios 44 produced an unusual swirly bokeh effect to the autofocus background. The silver Helios 44 was the first from the series, and it used the M39 mount. Early versions had 13 blades diaphragm, and later ones had 8 or 6 blades. Later, the 44-2 came in M42 mount. These lenses were manufactured between the late 50s through the early 90s, in different manufacturing plants. Each lens have the manufacturer symbol printed on the front of the lens. The collector community lore is that the earlier the lens was made, the best image quality it will deliver. The first versions of the lens were produced in small quantities in the KMZ plant. But with the success of the cheap Russian cameras, the lenses started to be mass-produced in other plants, and in the late 70s the Valdai plant was producing almost all the Helios lenses for a cheaper cost, affecting the build quality. Let's see what the YouTuber and Russian lens specialist Retro Photo House thinks about the Valdai version.
These lenses, these two modifications, they represent, I would say, maybe 60% of all production. The Valdai plant logo has a serial number on the ring here. The later modification has serial number on the body. They have the worst build quality. Quite important free play on the rear lens. Very often, almost all the cases, oily blades, as you may see here, but in fact this one is still okay, but a lot of oil. Also big free play, and as you may see here, the oil is not even the oil, it's a grease on the blades. You see here, unacceptable things, I would say. But these two modifications are most common, but build quality is the worst. So if you have a choice, I would recommend you to avoid this.
To be sure, I will test the different models, and to help me in my test, Retro Photo House sent me the first Helios with 13 blades. So now I can do a real-life test between the best and the worst versions of the lens, and see if there's a real difference. To make my test more clear, I will compare the first version, supposedly the best one, the 1972 KMZ version in M42, the best one from the M42 mount, and the Valdai 1978 version, supposedly the worst generation. Out of the camera, you can clearly see there's a problem with the Valdai version. A white veil covers the image, due to oil on the blades. Also, sharpness and micro contrast are far inferior to the first and second version. So, the swirly bokeh on the three lens generations is equivalent. But you are losing a lot of micro contrast on the Valdai version. Once again, sharpness is a problem. The first version is incredibly sharp, even wide open, compared to the last version. Even if at first glance you can't see any difference between the three versions, once you change the saturation of the samples, you realize that there is a weird texture problem with the Valdai version. I hope this video will help you hunt the best versions of this fantastic lens. If you want to know more about all the other versions of the Helios 44 too, you can check Retro Photo House channel, link in description. If you wanna see more videos like this, the best way to support the channel is on Patreon. Literally any contribution makes creating better content possible. Help support my projects and get exclusive behind the scene content. Thanks for watching and see you next time.